Hello and welcome to another edition of Another Book Review. This week I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be reviewing a collection of essays, which I believe is the first time I've done this for the channel. The collection is called MFA versus NYC, and it's really about the impact of the MFA degree and the abundance of programs that have risen offering MFA degrees since Iowa became kind of the standard bearing. The University of Iowa at Iowa City became the standard bearer for that sometime in the 60s or 70s. And the book is really examining essays from various aspects of this. So examining it from the MFA side of people who have taken MFAs, people who have gone through the workshopping process, to the teaching side as people who are writers who went back to teach an MFA program, to the publishing side, people who are publishers of material, either representing MFAs or their interactions with the material that comes from individuals who have MFAs, and really how this system is kind of symbiotic in the sense that writers who get their MFAs often have a step into the world of publishing through the connections, and the novels come out. Sometimes they do well, sometimes they don't. And if they don't do particularly well, they typically will go back into the world of teaching because it's relatively lucrative for the amount of work that's being done. And it's a question of whether or not at that point they're able to proceed with their art, or do they get kind of on the teaching track, and does it distract from what they originally set out to do, and is that by design? You also get into kind of the age-old question of, can writing be taught? Is it ethical to teach writing if you don't believe it can be taught? So I think there's a lot here to really to chew on. I think I should step back to say it's edited by Chad Harbach, who is in an interesting position because he has a literary magazine called N+1 that I believe is internet only, but I may be wrong. And he's best known for writing a book called The Art of Fielding, which was kind of the literary du jour of about 10 years ago. And he's kind of known for getting a relatively large advance for the book, and the book not particularly succeeding up to the expectations that were set by, I guess, the publishing industry or what have you. So he edits this collection of essays. He's the editor for it. He wrote one of the introductory essays, which I think is one of the highlights of the book, actually. And I think it does a good job of setting up where the book eventually goes. And I think he does a good job of wrestling with some of these issues that I brought up. The things that I liked about it the most, David Foster Wallace's essay, even though it's about 30 years old now, I think is really good. I really laughed at the stuff in the publishing I thought was relatively strong. There was one individual who had, I believe her position was in charge of physical marketing for books. I don't know what her position title was, but that's essentially what she did, and would produce kind of paraphernalia to send out to bookstores and whatnot to get people excited about books that were coming to them. I thought that was really interesting to see kind of her enthusiasm for the work. I thought that was pretty cool. Hearing from publishers about kind of what they look for was really interesting, and how they go about kind of their selection process and how that works with the MFA. I thought that stuff was really good. So most of what I enjoyed was really the NYC stuff. There's a part on teaching, and there's one chapter particularly from a woman who did not get her MFA, but she actually had written books and was kind of best known for a screenplay that she had written for a kind of a direct-to-video movie. And then she was invited to be a teacher at a low-residency MFA program. That chapter I thought was really funny, and was also a really highlight of the book. I think on some of the things that I didn't like as much, kind of the MFA program itself, those chapters of people who went through the MFA program or looked at it, I felt those all kind of blended together and kind of got kind of a samey vibe to it. I think the book's uneven in a lot of places, and some of the essays work and some of them don't, like most essay collections. There's also two essays that are critiques of a book that I have not written, book that I have not read, called The Program Era, which I believe is about kind of the rise of the MFA and the prominence in literary fiction. I think what I would have liked from the book that I didn't really get, it does really exist in the world of literary fiction, so it doesn't really get so much into the world of popular fiction. I would have liked to have gotten someone of a Stephen King, a George R.R. Martin, a Lee Child, someone of that level to have had an opinion about the MFA, and I think that's kind of missing. And so to me, that's kind of a component of it I would have liked to have seen that opinion of the importance of this thing on popular fiction as well. It really does stick to literary fiction, and I think that the overall takeaway that I got was from the book was definitely is helpful. The MFA is helpful to a lot of people, but it can also be damaging and also can set expectations for people that it's not realistic. But overall, it's a pretty quick read. I think it's on my ebook. It was about 600 pages, so I don't know if that's about 300 pages, a little bit less if it was a physical book. But I believe you can find the introductory essay online, Chad Harbach's introductory essay for this. I would read that, and if you find it interesting, then I would definitely check it out. I think people who may be interested in this would be people who have gone through MFA programs before or thinking about going into them, or if you work in the publishing industry. I thought, or just a general interest in literary fiction in general, I think it was nice to kind of see behind the curtain to the lives of authors and what they go through and the struggles to produce some works that is of importance to them. So that was the MFA, the MFA versus NYC. And next time I'm going to be reading The Golden Theme by Brian McDonald. Until next time, please feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel. And until next time, bye.